Hey guys, this is Brenda. I want to talk with you about a case, or a couple of cases actually. The Stephen Avery and the Brendan Dassey cases. They were responsible for murdering Teresa Halbach. They were both convicted and they're both in prison. Stephen Avery's in prison for life, and Brendan Dassey is in prison for a very long time. I think his earliest possible release date is 2048. I think one interesting part about these cases is that social media has been sucked into the abyss of ignorance in believing that either one of these guys are innocent. Brendan Dassey told the investigators information that they would have had no way of knowing. And the reason he knew that information was because he was there. He took part in it. He raped her, and he took part in the murder and the cover-up. He's guilty. That interrogation was absolutely fine. And I think it's interesting that at one point his mother said that she was right outside the door and that the police officers had actually invited her to come in the room with her son. And she responded that she did not want to have to hear what he had to say. But now, a couple of years later, it sounds like this story is that she had no idea he was being interrogated. So which is the truth? If you question whether or not Brendan Dassey was feeling safe in that room or feeling like he knew what he was saying, then listen to the audio tapes from his first police interview. He was cocky. He wasn't afraid of the police, and he knew damn well what he was saying because he was lying in the first police interview. And it's obvious if you listen to it. Stephen Avery, guilty as sin. And you know this whining about how he was sent to prison for a crime he didn't commit? Bullshit. He was sent to prison with a 6-year prison term for holding a loaded gun up to the head of a woman who he had run off the road, and he pointed the loaded gun at her head, dragged her out of her car, and was dragging her back to his truck. That's why he was sent to prison for 6 years. The years on top of that were from a conviction back in the day before DNA was used. I think it was 1985, wasn't it? The first DNA case was 1989. So guess what, people? In 1985, the courts relied heavily on eyewitness accounts. And in his case, they had a victim who was credible and who got up on that stand and insisted that Stephen Avery had attempted to rape her. And the jury believed her. The court didn't do anything wrong, and neither did the police officers. At all. Do you really believe he stood a chance at getting anything out of that big lawsuit of his? For what? Because DNA hadn't been invented yet? Or I should say the DNA testing tools? The police officers didn't do anything wrong. At all. Period. End of story. Stephen Avery was not a victim. And you know what's really weird? Is that the movie makers had to have known those details, just like they knew that he didn't just casually toss a cat who just happened to land in a fire. Yet that's how they presented it. He doused the cat in gasoline. He put the cat in the fire. And when that cat crawled to the edge of the fire and was trying to get some air to survive, he picked it up. He put it right into the center of the fire, and he stood there and he watched it burn. Isn't it just a hoot that two people can make a movie so full of what I would call half-truths because the full story was not being told? And I don't buy it that they didn't get to interview certain people, so of course they couldn't include the truth. Baloney. They presented that movie exactly how they wanted to present it. And what resulted from that movie? What was the result of the way they chose to edit out the full truth? Thousands of people think it's okay to lie, to harass, to slander, to commit libel against innocent law enforcement and court personnel. It is disgusting to see people on social media who are too ignorant or lazy or both to actually research this case and to learn the truth for themselves. You know the lawyer who first represented Brendan Dassey? Boy, did he ever get a bad rap in that docudrama. Because I'll tell you something, in my opinion, he was the best thing that Brendan Dassey had going for him at the time. He was obviously attempting to get a good plea deal for his client. But guess who got in the way? Stephen Avery. He insisted that Brendan fire that lawyer. Do you think he had Brendan's best interests at heart? Of course not. He knew damn well that if Brendan Dassey got a good plea deal, then Brendan Dassey would be testifying at his trial. You know, he had a check, I think it was for $400,000. So why the hell didn't he use a little bit of that to hire a good lawyer for Brendan? Nope, he used it all for himself. Well, he told his sister to hurry up and fire Brendan's lawyer. To me, the docudrama is absolutely disgusting. I haven't watched Netflix ever since. Because to me, I think Netflix is just as guilty of promoting the half-truths in order to rake in the viewers. And most disgusting of all is that so many people on social media are ignoring the obvious in this case. There was one victim, and her name was Teresa. And shame on all of you. Shame on all of you who are so upset about how these cases were handled. Teresa Halbach's family deserves for the truth to be known. And personally, I think Teresa Halbach's family should be paid every penny that Netflix and those producers have raked in from their docudrama.